if not for the COVID-19 pandemic, I believe many of us would still be traveling, be it locally or internationally. I'm sure all of us have our travel plans disrupted during this time. I myself have 7 return flight tickets that I could not utilize during this period. As it for now, I'm not even sure when we could go on a road trip, a vacation, or visiting our friends and relatives once again. Now imagine for a moment that if you're going on a vacation or a holiday or a road trip or simply making a trip back to your hometown during one of the festive holidays. I wonder whether packing stresses you out. What would you pack and how do you pack your things to prepare for the journey ahead? Are you one of those who would pack weeks before the journey and feel anxious that you might miss out something, so you have to make a long list of things, put them into the bag and prepare weeks in advance? Or perhaps you're just like me, who would always pack my bag at the last minute and then jump into the Grab car and head towards the airport, and then along the way I'll be wondering, have I left out something that I should have brought along? Or are you the kind of person that will pack extra clothing in case you might need it? Or are you one of those who would bring along first aid medication so that you could be prepared for any unfortunate incident that might arise during your journey? One thing for sure, when we are going on a journey, it is no fun to be on the road and to experience something unexpected. It is no fun to have a flat tire. It is no fun to be caught in massive traffic jam that ruin our estimated arrival time. It is no fun to have our flights cancelled or delayed. I remember on one particular incident, I was supposed to fly back from Yangon, and it was a night flight, and all of us are already in the plane and we are ready to take off. But suddenly, the airport authorities announced runway closure and we could not take off, and we were taken back to the terminal and we were told that we have to spend the night on our own and see tomorrow morning we could take off. It is no fun to have our plans ruined or changed due to unforeseen circumstances. So how do you prepare for emergencies on the journey? How would packing your luggage look like? What would you carry? And likewise, let us think about this question as well. How would we prepare for unforeseen circumstances in our journey, particularly in our own spiritual journey? Our reading this morning, taken from Psalm 121, tells a story of travelers on their pilgrimage to Jerusalem. This psalm, Psalm 121, forms part of a collection of 15 psalms. If you read from Psalms 120 right up to 134, this is a collection of 15 psalms that is often known as Psalms of Ascent or Songs of Ascent. These 15 psalms are songs that pilgrims of old would sing when they are making their way from wherever they come from on the way up to Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem that is located on the top of the hill. According to the law of Moses in Deuteronomy chapter 16, the Israelites are required to make 3 annual pilgrimages to Jerusalem. They are told to travel to Jerusalem for Passover, for the Pentecost, and for the Feast of Tabernacles. And as they make their journey from where they were, and they make their journey to Jerusalem, these 15 psalms are psalms that they would sing along their journey, along their way, as they climb up to Jerusalem that is on top of a hill. Psalm 121 tells us the story of how the pilgrims travel up to Jerusalem. If you are like the pilgrim of old on this particular journey, I suspect you would spend some time getting ready for your journey. You would have packed your bags, packed your provisions for this road trip that you're going to make, and most likely you will be traveling on foot. If you have your animals with you, you would have loaded up your animals and set out on the journey. And most likely you will not be traveling alone. You will be traveling with your family and your kinsmen as well. And as you travel on this journey, up the hill, down the valley, you'll be very careful to ensure that you do not fall into the hands of the robbers. You have been familiar with stories told by your friends that many who make this pilgrimage, who make this journey up to Jerusalem, have fallen into the hands of thieves, bandits, and robbers. So you want to protect your family, your kinsmen that were traveling along with you. And since you're traveling on foot, you have always be very cautious that you will watch where you walk so that you will not slip or you will not step on loose stone and then sprain your ankle. At the same time, you might also be fearful that you might not be able to take the sun and the desert heat. Imagine you're traveling on this journey on the way up to Jerusalem. You have been traveling on foot for a few days already. And then suddenly you hear from a distance someone singing the Psalms of Ascent. You hear someone say, "I will lift up my eyes to the hills." And then you hear someone echoes, "From where does my help come?" And then you hear another person responds, "My help comes from the Lord who made the heaven and the earth." And then several voices pick up the rest of the psalm, and together in unison, the pilgrims will cry out, "He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep." As you make this journey, you probably smile a little bit because you are reminded that while you're concerned with all the fears and unknowns on this journey, you may have forgotten God. Now you're reminded with these words, "The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night." Then you pick up with the rest by singing, "The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore." The pilgrims of old sing Psalm 121 to remind them that it is God who guides their every step. Just like the great hymn, "Guide me, O thou great Jehovah, pilgrims through this barren land. I am weak, but thou art mighty. Hold me with thy powerful hand." So Psalm 121 reminds us two very important truths as we offer our worship to God this morning. The first truth that this psalm reminds us is this, that the Lord that we worship, He is the Creator God. Psalm 121 begins with these words, "I will lift up my eyes to the hill. From where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth." As the pilgrims make their journey up to Jerusalem on the hill, the magnificent view of the hills would have greeted them. As they look around the hills, they would have reminded of the pagan religions that were practiced in this area. Temples and shrines were common sights in hills. The Canaanites worshipped their deities in the hills. They called down special favors from their gods through their rituals. For a moment, perhaps just for a fleeting moment, the thought might have crossed the Israelites' mind to seek out one of those priests in the hills for protection on the road. It couldn't hurt to have a charm, to have the extra protection, just in case. Do you fear the heat from the sun? Perhaps we should worship the sun god. Perhaps we should go to the priest. Perhaps we should go to the temple. Oh, Baal may protect us. So a traveler on this journey would surely be enticed by this kind of offer. But the psalmist leave no room for doubt. A look up to the hill, it may be magnificent, it may be glorious, it may be majestic. It will end in disappointment. For all their majesty and beauty, they are just hills. That's why the psalmist declares, my help does not come from the hills. My help comes from the Creator Lord, not the creation itself, but from the Creator God. So by reciting this psalm, the pilgrims of old and for us today, we are assured that our help does not come from any other gods, but our help comes from the Lord, the Creator God. He is the one who is with you on your pilgrimage. He's the one who is with me on my pilgrimage. He is with you, He is with me until we arrive at our final destination. As we reflect, we may want to think about our own faith. In our own journey of faith, do we always look to God? Or we look to the hills? Or we look to other gods in difficult times like this? There are so many uncertainties in life. We may be fearful concerning our job security, our employment. Our finances are affected. So if you are a retiree and you depend on the interest from your fixed deposit to carry you through, you would feel the difficulties ahead. With a drop in the interest rate, it means that your income would also drop. Our business may be facing extremely challenging situation. The anxiety is real. Do you look to your Creator God? Are you worried about the future? This Psalm 121, remind us as pilgrim on our journey of faith, let us look to God. The hills may be glorious, the hills might be majestic, the hills might be magnificent, they might be a strong tower, but at best, they are just creation of our Creator God. Remember, the Lord that we worship is the Creator God. That is the first truth that this psalm reminds us. The second truth that this psalm reminds us is that the Lord that we worship is the Keeper Lord. In this Psalm 121, the word keep appears a total of 6 times. Not all English translations translate this word consistently, but if you happen to use the ESV or the NRSV versions, these 2 translations capture this beautifully. The word keep literally means to guard, to watch over, and to attend to carefully. Now listen to me read the psalm again. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. So as the Israelites sing this psalm, they are assured of God's deep love and care for them. They are reminded of Elijah's battle with the priests of Baal. As the pagan priests called to Baal, Elijah mocked them, asking if Baal were drunk and asleep. Baal, the god of the harvest and the vine, was often drunk and found to be sleeping. He sleeps, but not the God of Israel, the Lord God, the God of Abraham and Isaac, is always attentive to his children. The Israelite might also recall how they have witnessed the people of Egypt worship the sun god and the moon god. But they know that the sun and the moon are created by God and they are not God. They remember the story of creation, that the Lord God is a creator God. The sun may blaze down on them. The moon may haunt their imagination, but the Lord who made them both is on their side. The Lord, the God of Israel, will stand beside them. So as they sing this psalm, they worship God. They are reminded that they have this special relationship with the Lord, the keeper, the shepherd who keeps them in the palm of his hand and watches their every step that they take. So what can this psalm, and how can this psalm help us in our journey today? What does this psalm mean for us today? In many ways, all of us are pilgrims on our own journey of faith. Just like the Israelites of old, we too can be distracted by many things in our pilgrimage that could rob us away from lifting up our eyes to the Lord and to worship Him. In our journey, we could be distracted by so many things: the packing, the security, the car, the delays, and the unknown. At the same time, in our own journey, we could be packing too much things in our luggage and carry too much burden in our pilgrimage. We can carry so much in our luggage until they weigh us down and make us lose sight of God. Sometimes I wonder whether we have carried so much until there's no more space for God in our journey. Brothers and sisters, we live in times where our life can dramatically change in an instant. Our travel plans can be disrupted. The COVID-19 pandemic has shown us that things can just change at an instant. We can't meet as a church physically today. We have to innovate and go digital. Business that are doing well suddenly had to cease operation. Planes cannot take off. Airports are like ghost towns now. Things can be so uncertain. Life can be so fragile. We could have our lives derailed when we are diagnosed with a serious illness. We could be disappointed when we have to pay a pay cut. We can worry so much about our future when events of life disorient us, pull us in all sorts of directions. Where do we go to get our bearings? Where do we go to re-establish a sense of who we are and what our direction should be? When we are lost in our way or we feel confused, where do we go? When we are distracted, what could be our compass that would guide us? And this is where I believe Psalm 121 comes in to encourage us. When we are overwhelmed by the circumstances in life, when we struggle in our daily life, when we cry out in despair, remember that my help comes from the Lord who made heaven and the earth. When we begin to doubt the presence of God, and we wonder if God even hears our prayers for our loved ones and our family and friends, when we grieve for the departure of our loved one, when we don't seem to be healed of our illnesses and infirmities, and we lament for our present unfavorable circumstances, remember that God will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. When our job is at stake, when we worry about our future, our children, and whether we could make ends meet, remember, the Lord is your keeper. The Lord is my shade on my right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. When I look at my mother who is getting weaker and weaker by the day, and I wonder what is the meaning of life for my own mother, I'm reminded that the Lord will keep our life. So when our family is separated, or when we have children living overseas and away from us, we might feel the sense of emptiness. We might worry for them what would happen to them. Remember that the Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forever. Brothers and sisters, life can be painful at times. It can be difficult. Sometimes, like I said, we carry so much luggage on this journey of faith, and it could easily rob us from the joy of serving and worshiping the Lord. What do you carry with you in your journey this morning? Perhaps it is time for us to pause for a moment and take a look at the luggage that we have been carrying along with us. Have we carried so much that there's no more space for God? Are we carrying so much until it overwhelms us and we are tired down in this journey and God is forgotten? Brothers and sisters, our Christian journey is to know God and to worship Him and to be reminded that He is the Creator Lord, and the God that we worship is the Keeper Lord. Every breath that we take, we are preserved by the Lord, and we know that we are accompanied by the Lord. And I pray that as you continue on in your journey of faith, you will always be reminded that the Lord that we worship is the Creator God, and the Lord that we worship is the Keeper God. May this truth that we can draw from this psalm remain with you, and so that together as a body of Christ, we can recite and we can say Psalm 121 with confidence. I lift up my eyes to the hills. Where does my help come? My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. He will not let your foot be moved. He who keeps you will not slumber. Behold, he who keeps Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is your shade on your right hand. The sun shall not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will keep you from all evil. He will keep your life. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Amen.